Okay, so now let's talk about ranges. So in map system, actually, we have implemented mainly two types of ranges, but functionally, actually, they are working exact same way. But just as feature-wise, we can divide into two sections, which are static ranges and dynamic ranges. So as the name implies, the static ranges means some sort of static range that implements on the minimap or world map. For examples, let's just say maybe it could be a point of interest, or maybe it could be some specific location that a player can loot, or maybe it's a quest specific location on the map. Likewise, in certain scenarios, in such scenarios, actually we can implement those stuff by using static ranges. The dynamic ranges actually again the same thing functionally, but feature wise it's dynamic. For example, let's just say there is an actor that moves on the map, and let's just say maybe an enemy. So that enemy has some sort of a detection range surrounded by that enemy. So in such scenarios, we can use dynamic ranges to showcase that behavior. Okay. So the ranges are configurable as well. For example, their colors, their size, their appearance, things like that can be configured. Okay, right. So that's a little bit about the ranges, and let's go to the implementation and see how it works. Okay, so I'm on my project test level. If I play it right now, you can see now we have distance indicators and map icons and the world map. And let's just say I need to implement some static range within this actor, right? How can I do that? Well, it's quite simple. All you have to do is again go to the actor, select its map system invoker, and simply select this range, enable range. So by default, I have been configured all of those map system invoker specific actors are not implementing range, but let's just say if you need to enable a range by default, then similarly what we have been done for the distance indicators, you can configure that on the actor level instance as well. Okay, that's totally fine. And maybe let's just say if you need to enable or disable it based on some specific dynamic scenario, then you can simply reference to this variable and manipulate it accordingly. Okay, right. So now I have been enabled the range with the range radius of 200 and with these default configurations, which means now there should be some sort of a yellowish color range on the minimap and the world map. Okay, so let's play that out. Right, now I can't see minimap. Not actually the minimap, the range. So the issue could be one of these configurations. Right, let me see. Right, so here you can see it has the range radius of 200. So this 200 is too small. Okay, so here you can see actually the range is implemented, but since it is behind the minimap icon, we can't see it. Okay, but at the world map, if you try to zoom to this specific map icon, you can see there is a small yellowish color range visualized over there. Because at the world map, actually we can zoom it and see how it has been implemented, but actually in the minimap you can't see it. Okay, so just for the time being, maybe you can increase its range radius, maybe like 2000. Okay, so now you can clearly see the range in both minimap and the world map. Okay, maybe we can further increase its size. Let's just say 4000, and now we have little bit of larger range. Okay, and let's just say I need to change its color, maybe a purple color like this, and maybe purple border like this. Let's just play, and you can see that change has been applied. Okay, and you can actually experiment with these configurations. I don't need to go through all of them, but let's just say maybe you change the softness for 0.1, then you can see some sort of a glow is there on the range. But if you apply such opacity, then probably you have to change the radius as well. Maybe let's just say 0.8. Yeah, it's a rectangular shape, right? So it's not quite good. Let's just say 0.1. Right, now you can see the radius is too much small. Maybe let's just say 0.3. Right, so now you can see we have a range with some sort of a glow effect and relatively lower radius on the field color mask, right? Because the full radius has been applied by considering the glow radius as well, but since we have to distinguish it properly, we have to reduce the radius size. Okay, so you can actually experiment with this stuff and get a better understanding, and maybe you can introduce new features, new parameters, things like that as well. Okay, but basically this is a bit about the static ranges. Now how about the dynamic ranges? Well, the dynamic ranges are not something new. It's, as I mentioned before, functionally it's same. All you have to do is go to your dynamic actor and go to the web system invoker and then simply enable the range. Okay, so soon after you did that and play, you can see now there is a range and it is updating properly. Okay, and you can see on the minimap bounds it is clamping properly without going outside of the UI. Okay, and if you go to the world map, you can see both of those actors are there and their respective ranges are there as well. And even if you zoom, you can see their scale is correct and accurate enough. Okay, so actually the player will think this entire world map is some one component, but actually, as I mentioned on the very first introduction tutorial, all of these components are rendered in layered fashion. Okay, so at the bottom layer we have map bg, which ultimately implements the texture for the level, and then we have range layer, which implements these sort of ranges, and then we have path layer, which we'll discuss in the next tutorial, and after that we have the map icon layer. Okay, so hope you remember those stuff, but in case if you forget those, maybe I can show it again. So let's go and check out the world map first, and here are those ranges or layers that I mentioned before. So we have the world map bg layer, then range layer, path layer, and world map layer. The range layer is actually a common layer for both world map or minimap, but functionally they will be differ based on the map bg. Okay, so what I meant by that is, if you go and check out the minimap also, there is a range layer. It is the exact same range layer that we have been used at the world map over here. So if you go and check out the range, this is that layer, range layer, and there are some functions that I've been implement to add a range, refresh existing ranges, remove ranges, and remove a specific range, zooming, things like that. So you can go and refer to this component further if you want to get a better understanding. And this is the WB range actually, which ultimately implements any sort of a range. It could be either static, it could be the dynamic, or it could be having a different configurations that you prefer. So this will be used as a range to implement a specific range on the range layer. Okay, the range layer is ultimately differ based on the BG, right? Because for the minimap we have a different BG, which is WB minimap PB, and for the world map we have another BB, which is WB world map BG. Okay, so based on these backgrounds, the computations could be differ, but functionally the range layer will be act as a common layer. Okay, so maybe I can show you where that difference comes. So actually it's one of the very common object oriented principles that we follow in object oriented architecture, which is polymorphism. Okay, so we don't need to repeat the code for each and every individual component. Instead, we can reuse it, but their computations or the calculations could be different based on the parent actor. Okay, that's known as polymorphism. So these polymorphic behaviors will be achieved via an interface calls, right? So interface is sort of like a generic virtualized function which has not been implemented yet, but it will be implemented on the respective parent actors to override those stuff that leverage the required calculations, right? So here if you go and check out the map BG, based on the background, it could be either minimap background or it could be world map background. So based on the background, the certain calculations could need to be done. So for that, I have been created this interface call, and these functions will be implemented on the respective positions. So maybe we can take a look into this function. So let's search it globally. Right. So here you can see at the minimap BG layer, which you don't need to focus on this stuff. Here at the world map BG layer, we are using that function, and also at the minimap BG layer, we are using the same function. So you can maybe go and check out the implementation. So this is how it has been overridden, right? So at the world map BG layer, this is the calculations. You can go through it later on. And for the minimap BG, it is somewhat different calculation because it's a different artifact, but the function is same and the return values are same, only the calculations will be different. Okay, and that is how we compute the stuffs, and they will be reused at the minimap icon and the world map icon to properly set its position on the respective component, right? So for the minimap, this is how we update the minimap icon position. So we basically ask from the parent widget what is the appropriate UI position for this location, and it will calculate it properly and return it for us. And similarly for the world map icon also, the computation is somewhat similar. It will refer to the parent widget's interface function and ask for the location. And similarly for the range, a range is also a respective UI element, right? And for the range also, based on the background, it should calculate its appropriate position, and it will be done via this interface call. Okay, right, hope everything is clear, but in case if you have troubles of understanding all of these codes, just drop a comment And also, as I mentioned earlier, I will publish a Udemy course to get an in-depth understanding about the entire development process. So you will get a handful experience on for there as well. Right. So that's a little bit about ranges. And yeah, at the next tutorial, let's take a look into the pathfinding and path rendering.